Welcome back to the What We're Watching podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jeni, and today we're talking about Ella Enchanted.
For Jenny's birthday. Happy birthday, Jeni.
Thank you. I love this movie so much, and I think it's been on our list since day one. But no one's ever requested it, so I'm requesting it for my birthday.
I think everybody's going to love it, though. This is a fan favorite. It must be, right?
I mean, yeah, this is one of my favorites. How do you feel about it?
I love this one. I'm so happy that we did it. I mean, we love Anne Hathaway, right? We love all of her movies. We're going to run out soon, I feel.
Never. We're just going to have to start changing our niche. Like, we won't be doing nostalgic movies anymore. We'll be doing, like, her newer stuff.
Sure, I don't care.
In this episode, we're talking about how Ella Enchanted became a cult classic despite bombing at the box office, Anne Hathaway's mime training, excited to tell you about that, and why the book's author doesn't stand by this adaptation.
I'm so excited to hear about all of this.
Spicy, I know.
Ooh. Okay, so the logline for this movie is, as a baby, Ella of Frel receives a visit from Lucinda, her fairy godmother, and is bestowed with a magical talent that requires her to obey anything that she is told to do. This proves to be more of a curse than a blessing, particularly once her mother dies, and she's forced to live with her cruel stepmother, Dame Olga. Eventually, Ella embarks on a journey to find Lucinda and break the spell, accompanied by the handsome Prince Charmant.
I love everything about this premise. It's
Me
just
too.
so good.
It's so good.
What a horrible curse to have.
I know. It actually was so much sadder than I remembered. Like, there were so many parts that made me so upset watching it back, and I don't remember it being that serious when I was little. Obviously, the whole movie is not that serious. It's Ella Enchanted, but there were parts where I was so upset for her.
Oh, yeah, it totally hits different now as an adult when you're like, oh, free will is actually very important, and this woman is just having to be obedient to everyone else's desires, and it's actually really dark.
It's very dark. I'm excited to hear what you researched about the author not liking this adaptation, because I feel like the deeper message of this movie must be something to do with, like, women feeling as though they have to be obedient and, like, what it means to actually do that. Like, I can just imagine a writer being like, let's follow this young woman growing up in society that expects women to be obedient. What if she actually had to be? Mm-hmm. You know, I can, like, see that being, like, the thought starter for this story. So I'm excited to hear about what the author actually thinks about this visual portrayal.
Yeah, I might disappoint you, but we'll see.
Okay.
But I do think, I think that is so true, that's just like a really important message in this movie. And then there's also the bodily autonomy part of it too. There's so much we could get into here, so I'm excited.
Me too. If you like this podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating wherever you listen.
Do you know what Ella of Frel would do if she was listening to this podcast?
What?
She would obey us.
Stop.
Should we just surprise each other every
Yes.
episode with like an unhinged
I like this.
something?
Yeah, I really like this.
Okay, we'll see how
This
it goes.
is funny.
Okay, so this movie came out in 2004, and it's actually a satire of the fairy tale genre. And I didn't really catch that. Did you?
No, not at all.
Like, it doesn't read satire to me, but maybe because I watched this as a kid and I'm still viewing it through that lens. Like, it didn't feel like it was making fun of itself. Maybe it was.
I mean, there are certainly scenes where Ella feels very, like, not pick me, but, like, where she is very just like, I'm not that girl. Like, I'm not the damsel in distress.
Uh-huh.
And that's a little bit exaggerated, I think, for the comedy of the movie. But I didn't think it was satirical.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was written by our faves, Karen McCullough Lutz and Kirsten Smith.
Our dream team.
I know.
I had no idea they wrote this. That's so fun.
I always forget, and then I was reminded again. So they did 10 Things I Hate About You, Legally Blonde, The House Bunny, She's the Man. We've talked about them in many episodes because we've covered most of those, to be honest. And so, yeah, that's why it's so good. It does have their kind of stamp, though. You can tell because their kind of humor definitely shows in the movie.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. It has the same also, like we were just saying, it sort of has this women empowerment flavor, you know? Like it has a strong woman at the center of the story, like all of their other stories. You know, this is actually an interesting thing about them. I guess maybe I'm just thinking 10 Things I Hate About You. They do a good job taking like a very classic kind of trope, even like the dumb blonde in Legally Blonde, and making her into a powerful character. Like in this one, having like the damsel in distress rescued by the prince. Legally Blonde, the dumb blonde. The house bunny is also kind of the dumb blonde. She's the man. That's a special one. I don't know.
That is a special one.
That doesn't really have a trope at the center of it. 10 Things I Hate About You, the like cute high school romance, you know? Enemies to lovers, I suppose. Anyway, cool.
Yeah, so we love them. There's actually 5 writers that are credited in the end credits. So 3 other people worked on this. I don't know if it was like one of those scripts that got passed along a bunch and had different teams of people working on it at different times. But I did hear that it changed a lot throughout the process, so that might explain why there are 5 writers. So like we said, this is based on a book. It's a young adult book by Gail Carson Levine that was published in 1997, which was a retelling of Cinderella. I loved this book as a kid. Do you remember reading it?
No, I don't think I ever did. Actually, don't think I knew that it was based on a book until right now.
I feel like if you Googled the cover of it, like the original cover in the 90s, you would recognize the cover.
Okay.
I feel like it was at every Scholastic book fair.
I was a big Scholastic book fair girly. Let me look. I don't think I've seen this book before.
Okay, never mind.
Oh my gosh, she's giving Fiona.
Yes, she's got this like green dress, right?
Like the green velvet dress and her hair looks kind of red. Okay.
I was obsessed. I think I read this book multiple times as a kid. That's how much I liked it. Some of you may also remember the book Fairest, which is also by the same author, and that came out in 2006 and is a retelling of Snow White, but it's set in the same world as Ella Enchanted.
Cool.
So it's technically the second book. I never read that one, but I remember it on the shelves. And then Levine wrote a prequel in 2018, very recently, called Ogre Enchanted.
Huh. Is this supposed to be like Shrek, maybe? A retelling of Shrek. Shrek became a classic in that time frame?
Wait, that's so funny that you said that because people compare this movie to Shrek all the time.
Huh. Because there's ogres in it? Because there's like a quest situation?
Probably, and probably because it's a fairy tale that makes fun of itself a little bit and is comedic and kind of subverts the trope. There's also this one scene, which we'll talk about, but Anne Hathaway's character is frozen midair in a jump. And that also happens in Shrek when Princess Fiona is fighting and she is like midair frozen for a minute. There's like some similarities.
Okay, yeah, I could see it.
It's funny that you said that. The movie got a lot of flack from straying so far from the book. And Levine stated that the film is, quote, so different from the book that it's hard to compare them, and suggested regarding the movie as a separate creative act.
Wow. Ouch.
Which I think is harsh.
That is harsh. That's super harsh. Interesting. I wonder if they had to get her, I mean, they would have had to buy the rights to like adapt the book into a movie, but I wonder if she was involved in the project at all. This makes me think no.
I don't think so. Can you imagine writing a book and then getting it adapted into a movie and hating it so much that you just have to be like, it's a completely different thing? Don't think about my book with that.
Devastating.
I think I would just be excited it turned into a movie starring Anne Hathaway, but
of course. Yeah, of course. Of course. But yeah, I think it would depend on how involved you were, because if you just like knew that it was happening, but you didn't see it at all, you didn't read the script, you had no idea what was going on, and then you saw it and it was completely different and you don't know how they got there, that would be really hard.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. She didn't really give any other details besides that, but she definitely doesn't stand by the movie. Anne Hathaway has a really different opinion of the movie, obviously because she was in it. She first read the book when she was 16 and said that there was originally a version of the script that was much closer to the book, but it didn't really work as a film, and she prefers the way that the movie actually turned out because it makes fun of itself for being a fairy tale.
Everybody's talking about how this movie makes fun of itself.
And it went right over our heads.
Maybe we're
I took
just
it very
too
seriously.
serious. Yeah. It's the eldest daughter in us. What could we say?
It was funny.
Yeah,
There were
totally.
jokes.
Yeah. And it was like silly funny.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, you guys tell us, do you get it? We're too tightly wound.
Definitely. Definitely.
This movie's actually not for us at all.
My therapist today told me that my hyperfixations might mean that I have ADHD. The movie was an international co-production between the US, UK, and Ireland. And you can tell this movie was filmed in Ireland. It's so beautiful. Like I said earlier, this movie bombed at the box office, but it's since become a cult classic, and for good reason. I think this is a really good movie.
Agreed, and I feel like everybody loves it.
Maybe it was just not marketed well. Maybe that's why it bombed. The soundtrack is awesome for this movie. It features covers for Don't Go Breaking My Heart with Jesse McCartney and Anne Hathaway.
Incredible. Incredible. That's the most iconic. Wait. Are you telling me that Jesse McCartney is the voice of Prince Charmant?
Oh gosh, I tried looking that up and I didn't find anything about that.
Okay.
So I think it's just for the soundtrack.
Okay.
But I did think the same thing, and if he is, that's hilarious.
Incredible.
I love Jesse McCartney. Well, I don't want to say that because I actually don't know anything about him nowadays, but...
You loved his music as a tween.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
And then there's also True to Your Heart with Raven on the soundtrack, Raven Simone. And then Kelly Clarkson sings Respect. So all of these famous people doing great covers.
This is one of those movies that I almost think was a Disney Channel movie, but it wasn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it almost fits in the same, obviously High School Musical was a Disney Channel movie, but to me it's in that same lane of like something that's bigger than a Disney Channel movie, but it's the same audience.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So the soundtrack tracks, because this is absolutely, these are all like CDs that I definitely had.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're done talking about Shrek, but if you guys want us to do an episode on Shrek, we would love to.
We love Shrek.
We actually went to Red Rocks last year to watch Shrek. They had like a special movie night showing last year, and it was so fun.
And we posted a lot about it, too.
We did. Yes,
I actually don't think, you and I don't have a lot of photos together, but we do have
Mm-hmm.
photos together from that night.
Wearing Shrek ears. I'll post them on our Instagram stories so you guys can see.
Amazing.
Okay, now we can talk about the cast. Thank you. Starting with Anne Hathaway, who of course plays Ella.
Like Megan was saying earlier, we have covered so many Anne Hathaway things. We're just blowing right through them. We have 2 other episodes where we talk about Anne Hathaway in depth, and that's The Princess Diaries and The Devil Wears Prada. The Princess Diaries was her movie debut in 2001, and Ella Enchanted actually came out the same year as Princess Diaries 2, which is one of Megan's favorite movies.
I was about to say that. Oh, I love Princess Diaries too.
You guys don't know this, but Megan's birthday was over her maternity leave, and we'd like just barely missed her birthday. And we were going to do Princess Diaries 2 for her birthday episode. We missed it. It was so sad.
I know. I'm thinking maybe we can do it for our second anniversary episode. For the second anniversary of the pod this summer.
Yes. Anne Hathaway anniversary. Definitely. After Princess Diaries 2 and Ella Enchanted came out, Anne purposely tried to take on more adult roles so that she wouldn't be typecast as a princess.
I'm sorry. What a specific thing to only be cast as a princess.
Yeah. But she's perfect at it.
Absolutely. Princess Diaries also fits in that genre of like bigger than Disney Channel, but the same audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm pretty sure these played on Disney Channel. I wouldn't be surprised, you know?
Definitely.
Well, maybe not this one because this one was Miramax, but maybe. I don't know. And then it was Anne Hathaway's role in Brokeback Mountain in 2005 that helped her see the kind of stories that she wanted to tell as an actor. Although she's been in such a variety of things that I feel like it was funny for her to say that, but she's been in dramatic things, she's been in funny things, she's still kind of doing all sorts of movies. So, interesting. I found a random fun fact about her because I was trying to find things that we haven't talked about before. She was originally cast in the movie Knocked Up, but then was replaced with Katherine Heigl when she didn't want them to use real footage of a woman giving birth to make it look like it was her. And I got really confused when I read this. Do they do this in the movie? Do they show real footage of a woman giving birth?
I don't remember that.
Like down there?
I don't think so.
Because that's what this implied, is that they were trying to use real footage of a woman in labor and put make it look like it was Anne Hathaway.
That would be such an odd thing to put in a comedy.
I agree. And
I
so
feel like that would have stuck out in my brain if that was actually part of the movie. I don't remember that.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding everything and this is all fake. So sorry if so. But then I was like, maybe there's an unrated version that you guys know that I didn't ever watch. So
that's so interesting though, because Katherine Heigl to me feels like she was so much older at this time, but maybe she wasn't.
When did Knocked Up come out? Like 2009, probably? Feels like that era.
Yeah, I guess I just imagine Anne Hathaway as how she was in Princess Diaries and Ella Enchanted, whereas Katherine Heigl I imagine in Grey's Anatomy. And for some reason that feels so much older, but they're probably the same age. I don't know,
but I feel you on that. She was in the movie Idea of You really recently, which was popular.
And very good. I don't know if you ever saw it, but I loved it.
No.
Would love to do an episode on that if you guys want it.
Let us know. I really want to see it. I remember it was like all over the internet and social media, but I kind of avoided it for some reason, probably because I thought we might cover it on the podcast. She's also been cast in the adaptation of Colleen Hoover's book, Verity, which I saw just started filming. It stars Dakota Johnson, too.
Cool.
And so there's some like footage that's being leaked from behind the scenes.
I'm excited.
I think it's going to be interesting because I feel like the only other Colleen Hoover movie that has come out is It Ends With Us. And there was so much drama around that. So hopefully less drama with Verity, but we'll see. Anne Hathaway does her own singing in the movie, which I think we are not surprised by. She's a good singer. But this seems to be something that does shock people. But that's not all she did. Her character in this movie is unique because her body moves against its will. So she also had to work with a kickboxing instructor for a month and a professional mime for 2 weeks to prepare for the role.
Wow. Do you think that was just to like get in better touch with her body to be able to like move it so quickly and like rigidly?
It must have been. Or like maybe with the mime, it was to see how to convey being forced to do something. You know? Because like we can tell instantly when, of course, there's like a little sound that goes off when she's being obedient, but we can tell that she doesn't want to do the things that she's doing. So maybe the mime just helped her figure out how to exaggerate those movements.
She does a great job. It's very convincing.
She could be a mime.
Wow, Anne Hathaway's retirement career.
Mime. Professional mime. Okay, last thing about Anne Hathaway. She was 21 at the time of filming. And I said earlier that she had read the book at age 16. And I thought, oh, she's just like me. She read the book when she was young. But actually, she was given the book by Miramax, which is the production and distribution company that did this movie. And she was told to just keep it in the back of her head because it might be a fun project somewhere down the line.
Interesting. So they planted the seeds so early.
Before Princess Diaries.
Wow. I wonder if she had been cast in Princess Diaries. They were like, oh, I wonder if she's going to be like the next It girl.
That is a bunch of foresight, if so.
Definitely. Next, let's talk about Hugh Dancy, who plays Prince Char.
I didn't realize that he's named Prince Char because of Prince Charming in Cinderella.
Right over my head.
Because in the movie, it's short for Charmant, which is fancy. That's the fancy version of Charming.
I guess so. Truly, it's never occurred to me until you just said it.
But I'm right that Cinderella's prince is Charming, right?
Yes.
That's his name. Like his legal birth name, Prince Charming.
Correct. He is Prince Charming, yes.
Okay.
Which is funny because all the other princes have actual names. Not him.
What's the Snow White prince's name? Wait, isn't he Prince Charming also?
I thought he had a name. Maybe you're right. Let me look. Florian.
Oh. Wow.
Although I'm reading some other things that say he doesn't have a name. He's just the prince. There is no official name for him. Blah, blah, blah. There's no official name for him, but he's referred to as the prince, or sometimes Prince Charming, or Florian.
Well, that sounds like a name to me.
I see. It does. It sure does.
So somebody somewhere said he has a name, it's this. And then some people are denying him his name.
I said, we don't like that one.
Okay, interesting.
Mm.
Well, Hugh Dancy is from David Copperfield, Confessions of a Shopaholic, and Hannibal, the TV show. And he's also in some other things. He was discovered at a cafe by a casting director and agent, and then they signed him, like, immediately.
Wow.
Pretty privilege.
Truly, yeah, it's the curly hair.
Yeah. I didn't really find much about him, but I did find out that he's married to Claire Danes from My So-Called Life and Little Women, and they have 3 kids.
Oh, I love that.
I love him in this movie.
Me too. He has a little bit of, who's my favorite? Heath Ledger.
Yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm. It's the, like, hair, I think.
I think so.
Okay, next let's talk about Minnie Driver, who plays Mandy, the household fairy.
She's from Good Will Hunting, The Phantom of the Opera. She also plays Jane in Tarzan.
This makes me love her immediately. I didn't know that.
My mind was blown.
Oh.
And something I thought was interesting is she's an English actress. And when I was watching some interviews with her, yeah, Megan is looking at me shocked. She had an accent that was English, and I was like, oh my gosh, in all of these things I know her from, she has an American accent, and it's very convincing.
It's very good.
But no.
Hmm.
She has a memoir that came out recently in 2023 called Managing Expectations. We love a good celebrity memoir over here. And she also has an interview podcast called Mini Questions with Minnie Driver.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Okay, next let's talk about Vivica A. Fox, who plays Lucinda, the fairy godmother.
Love her character in this. She's so frustrating, but so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And well-meaning, I think, in a way. Maybe. She's from Soul Train, Kill Bill, Independence Day, Set It Off, and so many other things. She's actually been in more than 250 movies and shows and is still very, very active with her acting.
This makes sense because the second she came on the screen, I was like, I know her. I don't know what I know her from, but I know that I know her. And I guess it's just probably from a lot of different roles.
Yeah, when I was looking through her filmography, it's a lot of smaller roles or guest appearances on shows and things like that.
Cool.
This is so random, but when I looked her up today, I found out that she's all over the news, specifically today.
Huh.
And it's for a really weird reason. She just announced her new hair collection, which is great and should be the focus of these news articles. But actually, for some reason, her appearance in the announcement video of her new hair collection is what is sparking rumors about her, that she's had a Brazilian butt lift. And there are so many things we could say about how horrible it is that she's just being reduced to her appearance in this video.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that is really taking off in the news is that her ex-boyfriend, 50 Cent, has been commenting on these rumors like, wait, let me see.
What?
And then he's been like talking about their past. I don't know.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Another BBL rumor strikes again. I don't like it.
Yeah. And I just don't like the obsession with her body. Like,
that's what I mean. It's like she's launching a business and speaking about it. Why are we picking apart the way she looks in the video? That's stupid.
It's so weird.
Ugh, 50 Cent. Why? Wait, let me see. He said, wait, let me see. I
With
can't.
the eyeball emoji.
Get out. Straight to jail.
Although I will say she always has amazing things to say about him.
Okay.
So they dated like 20 years ago. It's been a really long time since they dated. But even now, she still has nice things to say about him. And in 2021, she said this. He's such a gentleman. He's very generous. I know him as Curtis. Always will. What killed the relationship is that we just went way too public, way too fast. The love that I had for him, and still to this day, he was the love of my life. I will admit that without any reservations. He will always have a very special place in my heart.
Wow. That's a lot of feelings. I like half fell out of listening to that when he said his name was Curtis.
Oh, that's something I did know, actually.
I had no idea.
You think his parents just named him 50?
No, I didn't think it would be Curtis. Wow, he was the love of my life. Big, bold claim.
Public claim.
Yeah, wow.
And now he's like, wait, let me see.
On that note, let's talk about Carrie Elwes, who plays Edgar, the bad guy.
I did not recognize this man at all.
No, me either.
He is so famous, and he's in so many things, and you definitely know him.
Okay, hit me.
Imagine him blonde. He is Wesley in The Princess Bride. Have you seen The Princess Bride?
Yes, I've seen The Princess Bride so many times, but not in a long time. But when you said picture him blonde, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He's also in Stranger Things, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and the Saw movies, and many
Whoa.
other things.
Huh. I've seen so many of those things. So I've definitely seen him a bunch. I totally didn't put it together. This is such a specific look with his little short hair and his facial hair and his crown on, you know?
And when I look him up, even nowadays, to me, he doesn't look like the same person. I had to triple check that it was the same person because I didn't believe it. He doesn't look like himself in this movie for some reason. Anyway, I think The Princess Bride is really what people know him for.
Definitely.
He wrote a memoir about his time filming the movie, and he called it As You Wish.
Cute.
I know. Also about The Princess Bride, he has had several public feuds, and by public feuds, I mean Twitter fights, with Ted Cruz, who is a fan of The Princess Bride.
Were the feuds about The Princess Bride?
The feuds were like, hey, Ted Cruz, how do you feel knowing that the entire cast of your favorite movie hate you? So anyway, there's some beef. There's some political beef, some turmoil.
Just starting feuds with Ted Cruz.
Carrie is married to the photographer Lisa Marie Kurbikoff, and they've been together since 1991. We love a good, long-standing celebrity relationship. And they have one daughter together.
Cute.
This is sad, but he and his family lost their home in the Palisades fire during the January Southern California wildfires.
Wow. Oh, that's so sad.
I know, but everyone evacuated safely, which is good.
Good. Okay, next we have Lucy Punch, who plays Hattie, the stepsister.
She's from Dinner for Schmucks, Bad Teacher, A Series of Unfortunate Events, the TV series, and she's one of those who has a ton of roles, but they're like more niche things, I would say. This is a crazy fact. This is not her first time playing an evil Cinderella stepsister. She's done it 4 times.
That is so many times.
Talk about typecast.
Yeah, as an evil stepsister. That's
of
horrible.
all things. She plays one of Cinderella's stepsisters in Into the Woods, and then Cinderella the 2000 TV movie, and Cinderella the 2008 TV episode.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It did say episode, not series. So I don't know. I'm not sure what that means, but
only the pilot made it. Wow. That's a lot of times to play Cinderella's evil stepsister. She's got it down.
But she loves it. She said this. When I was 11, I had an ugly sister birthday party.
No.
I can't handle this quote.
No, an ugly sister. Okay, keep going. Not an ugly sister. I just can't imagine being her mom. And she's 11. That's old to be doing weird shit like that, okay?
And she's like, I just love the evil stepsisters.
That's like a middle schooler. Being like, I need an ugly sister party.
She said, all my idea. Most girls want to be a fairy or a princess, but there I am with beauty spots and fur and fluorescent pink kiss curls. When I told my mother about getting the role in Into the Woods, she was like, oh, darling, not again.
Oh my God, it's so much deeper than even just she's played it 4 times. That is her. That's who she is.
Why do I find it kind of relatable, though? To just have like a weird obsession with something that you're just like, this is what I want. This is going to be my birthday party.
I respect it so much. That is so funny.
She knows who she is.
She did at a young age. Okay. Last but not least, we have to talk about the fact that Heidi Klum is in this movie. She plays Brumhilde the Giantess.
Okay, I didn't even really recognize her, and I don't think I would have had I not looked this up beforehand. But you did?
I grew up watching Project Runway.
Me too.
So this was, okay. When she hosted it?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's just because I definitely watched this movie with my parents when I was little, and I bet they pointed it out.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I would have been like, wait, is that Heidi Klum? And then figured it out. I did look it up before I watched the movie, but she looked different.
She does, because I think she must be CGI'd or something a little bit to be a giant in this movie, because I noticed watching it this time, her face is like a little bit blurry in some parts, and I don't know if that's just because it's an older movie or because of the special effects, but it definitely took me a second to remember that it was her.
Yeah. So like we just said, she's from Project Runway, America's Got Talent, and she has cameos in so many movies and shows. She was a Victoria's Secret angel, and along with being a model and a TV personality, she's also a businesswoman and an artist. I saw that she does paintings and sculptures and stuff, which I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
What she is known for is her annual Halloween costumes.
This is my favorite thing about her by far.
Tell me what you think about her Halloween costumes.
All I ever think about is her as a worm. Did you see that one?
No.
She is like, okay, this is what I love about her. She is a funny girl. She is not a sexy girl, okay? Despite being Heidi Klum and a Victoria's Secret angel. Her Halloween looks are like, she goes so all out. They're like full special effects makeup. I have to pull up the...
The worm just made me think of, would you still love me if I was a worm?
Oh my God. You have to look it up.
Oh no. She looks like bacon. Ew.
It's so gross.
That is the grossest Halloween costume I've ever seen. It's actually the grossest thing I've ever seen.
It's so bad. Just look at her face, though. Just zoom in on her face. It's just like her eyes going out.
How does she come up with these? Is she just like, you know what would be cool? Make me an earthworm.
Yeah, like a realistic, really convincing giant worm. I need to listen to more interviews with her because I'm sure she's a really interesting person.
She's iconic for that. It probably takes her all year
For
to
sure.
do these costumes.
On that note, should we get into the movie recap?
Let's do it.
So the movie opens on views of a castle in a beautiful green countryside, and the narrator, who's played by Eric Idle, says, "Fairy tales tell, as their labels imply, stories of magic, of creatures that fly, with giants and dragons and ogres and elves, and inanimate objects that speak for themselves." And then the song Strange Magic starts playing. This is like so nostalgic for me when this part happens. And we zoom in on a cottage in the village of Frel, and the narrator breaks the fourth wall and talks to us. He rolls up to the cottage on a bike to deliver the newspaper and says, "A fairy tale also reveals some sort of truth, the perils of choices we face in our youth. But our story today is different in theme, for our hero had no choice, or so it would seem." That's good foreshadowing now that now that I'm reading it. It starts with a fairy bestowing a spell. This one's for a baby named Ella of Frel.
Inside the cottage, we see baby Ella crying. Her mom and Mandy, who is the household's fairy, played by Minnie Driver, hear a voice say, "Hello, ladies," and they both say, "Lucinda." Lucinda, who's played by Vivica A. Fox, is a misguided fairy who gives the worst gifts, and Ella's mom and Mandy try to hide the baby from her. It doesn't work, though, and Lucinda holds baby Ella, but Ella won't stop crying, so Lucinda says, "Quiet, please. I can't concentrate here. Ella of Frel, I give you the gift of obedience. Now go to sleep." Ella falls asleep immediately, and then wakes up when Lucinda tells her to. Ella's mom and Mandy are horrified, and they say it's a terrible gift to have to do what you're told. Mandy asks her to take it back, but Lucinda says she has a no-return policy.
Then we fast forward in time, and the narrator tells us that in spite of the spell, Ella grew up strong of mind. And we see young Ella standing up for a girl at school named Arita, and when the bully says, "Bite me," Ella bites her on the arm.
Love it.
Love it. And then after a birthday party goes wrong and Ella literally stuffs herself with cake when she's told to, her mom and Mandy tell her about the spell. Even though Mandy is a fairy, she can't take the spell back. Only the fairy who gave the gift can do that. And once Ella knows about the spell, she starts looking for loopholes. For example, if someone tells her to do something that she doesn't want to do, like a chore, she has to do it, but she can take her time doing it.
I will say there were not enough loopholes in this movie.
It felt like there should have been more. Like, it felt like we should have seen her figure some things out. Like, I feel like a teenager in this situation would have gotten crafty. I don't know.
Or at least played things off better sometimes.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things she could have said to, like, explain why she did things or
Mhm.
pretend to be sassy about it or something. I don't know.
Definitely. I had the same thought.
Ella's mom gets sick, and on her deathbed, she tells Ella not to tell anyone about the gift, not even her father, because someone might try to use it against her. She also tells Ella that what's inside her is stronger than any spell. She gives her a heart necklace and says she'll always be with her.
What's inside her is stronger than any spell. More foreshadowing that I didn't catch.
Yeah,
Wow.
important.
Mm-hmm. Then the song Strange Magic starts playing again, and we cut to Ella grown up, played by Anne Hathaway. Mandy comes into her room and tells her that her father wants to speak to her. Her father, Peter, tells her that he's remarried to a wealthy socialite, Dame Olga, played by Joanna Lumley, because otherwise he would have had to sell their house. And when Dame Olga and her two daughters, Hattie and Olive, played by Lucy Punch and Jennifer Higham, arrive, they're judgmental of the house and they're mean to Ella right away. The stepsisters actually tell Ella that they'll need to use her closet since theirs isn't big enough, and she obeys because she has to. And this made me so sad. Hattie tells Ella to hand over the necklace that her mother gave her, and she does, but she's devastated. She even says, like, no, please, it's my mother's. But then she's like, oh, hand it over. And Ella has to do that, which is so sad. Hattie clocks right away that something is strange about Ella. It is shocking to me that her dad hasn't figured this out, but her stepsister figures it out in like 30 minutes.
Or Arita, her best friend.
Yeah, especially Arita.
Maybe it's because they're not bossy to Ella, so
Could be.
I don't know. But I was thinking the same thing. Ella's father leaves for his job as a traveling salesman, and she has to stay behind with her stepmother and stepsisters. At school, Hattie and Ella have a class debate about politics, and we learn a little bit more about their world. Hattie claims that the King Regent, Sir Edgar, has done a great job since the king died by driving the ogres out and putting the elves and giants to work as entertainers and laborers. Ella says that Edgar is a monster for enslaving the creatures, and she doesn't have much hope for his nephew, Prince Char, either. Hattie, who is like president of the Prince Char fan club, sticks up for him and says he'll be the greatest king ever. Ella says, I wonder if my opponent has based her opinion on the prince's politics or how cute she thinks his butt is. Hattie tells her to just admit that she's stupid and doesn't know what she's talking about, and Ella immediately does. To test her, she tells Ella to hold her tongue, and Ella does. And now it clicks for Hattie what's going on with Ella, and she knows about her obedience.
Then we meet Prince Char, who is riding in a carriage with his uncle, the King Regent Edgar, and Edgar's talking snake Heston. Ew, I hate this thing. We find out that Edgar is only in charge for a little while after the last king died, until Prince Char's coronation next week. Edgar tells Char that while he's been away at school, the ogres and giants have been becoming more treacherous. And Char is surprised to hear this and says that giants have always been peaceful, and Edgar says that the ogres were peaceful too until they ripped his father to shreds. Immediately, we can tell that he's just making this shit up, right?
He's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy.
He's wearing red and black, and he has a goatee. He's a bad guy, and he has a pet snake. Goodbye.
It's the goatee.
It's the goatee.
That's what makes him look evil. You're totally right.
Edgar and Char arrive in Frel, and while the stepsisters and other people of Frel are fangirling over Char, Ella and her friend Arita protest to stop Ogreside and the giant land grab. So they're like protesting with signs and making a big fuss. Hattie gets really embarrassed of Ella and commands her to go home. So she does. A girl says, Prince Char, are you a fast runner? He says, not particularly, and then all of the girls charge at him. And then Walking on Sunshine plays as the girls chase him.
The music in this movie is so good.
Hilarious.
So as Char runs away, he runs right into Ella, who's walking home, and he pulls her down to hide from the girls with him. And when the coast is clear, he apologizes for the occupational hazard, and Ella just rolls her eyes. And we can tell that she's like not fazed by him at all, whereas all the other girls are obsessed. She tells him that his people steal land and destroy livelihoods, and he says that she's the first girl who hasn't swooned for him. He also claims he's never stolen anyone's land or livelihood and wants peace in the kingdom. He tells her to wait while he grabs her purse for her, and while he's gone, she's literally rooted to the middle of the road because he told her to wait there. But then there's a horse and buggy that are coming towards her at full speed, and she just like accepts that she can't get out of the way. It's very scary, actually. And then Char arrives right in the nick of time and tackles her to save her.
Again, I'm like, How is no one putting two and two together?
Right.
Hattie and Olive find them, and Hattie tells Ella to leave. Then Hattie tells Char how obsessed she is with him, and he gets really uncomfortable and says, "Tell Ella I'll be in touch," and runs away from her. And then later, at the mall, which is basically like a regular mall, but it's medieval, and there's like a manual escalator made out of wood.
Yeah, I was going to say, they are on an escalator.
Hattie gets Ella to steal a pair of glass slippers. The only glass slippers in the movie, actually. And she's caught and tries to escape, but as she's leaping over some barrels, a soldier tells her to freeze, and Ella literally freezes in midair. And then they arrest her.
Later, when Ella is released, Hattie makes Ella tell Dame Olga that her friend Arita is the one that forced her to steal the slippers. And so Olga forbids her to see Arita again, and when Arita comes to the door, Olga makes her tell Arita that she never wants to see her again, and Hattie adds that Ella has to also tell her that she could never be friends with an Aorthian. This, broke my heart.
So sad.
Ugh.
And Anne Hathaway's delivery, so good.
So good. Mandy, the fairy, realizes what's happening, and she tries to step in, but she can't. This also confused me. I was like, why can't somebody jump in and say, Ella, don't say that?
Yeah, can it override somebody else's order or no?
I don't know. I mean, from what we see, no.
In the rest of the movie, if someone tells her to do something and then someone gives her another order, it stops the first order.
That's true.
So I don't know.
Maybe this was just for the dramatic effect. I don't know.
We're overthinking, maybe.
Or maybe because Mandy is, employed by the household. Maybe she, can't go against the, quote, master's orders. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, that would make more sense. Like she doesn't want to get fired or something.
Yeah. Anyway, Ella is obviously heartbroken, and she answers the door and tells Arita that she never wants to see her again and could never be friends with an Aorthian, and then shuts the door in her face.
So sad.
That night, Ella cries to Mandy and says this is the worst thing the curse has ever made her do, and she resolves to find Lucinda and get her to take back the curse. Then Mandy introduces Ella to her boyfriend, Benny, who's played by Jimmy Mystery, who she accidentally transformed into a book because she's not great with magic. I forgot about this storyline. I think it's so cute.
Oh my gosh, I did too.
Benny says, I would have left her ages ago, except I love her so darn much. Plus, I have no legs. He really becomes the comedic relief on Ella's quest. It's very cute.
Mm-hmm.
So Mandy tells Ella to take Benny with her on her journey, and we also find out that Benny can show where a person is at any given time. You'll say, show me Lucinda, and then they'll open the book, and you can see exactly where she is. So based on what they see, they can tell that Lucinda is shopping in a large store, and so they assume that she's in Giantville.
That night, Ella sneaks out with Benny, and we learn that before she left, she gave her stepmother and stepsisters bouquets of poison ivy. While walking through the forest, Ella comes across a group of men torturing an elf. The elf tells her to kick their butts, and he coaches her in different combos to do, which she has to do because he told her to. So this is where Anne Hathaway's kickboxing training came in handy. She scares them off and then frees the elf, who joins her on the journey. His name is Slannon, and he's played by Aidan McArdle, and he wants to be a lawyer rather than an entertainer like he's forced to be by law. Ella convinces him to petition Prince Char to go to law school.
Back at home, Prince Char sent an invitation to Ella for the coronation ball. Dame Olga tells her daughters to dust off their ball gowns, because obviously they're going to go instead with Ella's invitation.
Then Slannon, Ella, and Benny the book are captured by ogres, and the ogres start to cook Ella, but then Prince Char saves her and the rest of the group. Char asks the ogres if they are any of the ones who killed his father, and they say that King Florian was a good man. King Florian, do you think that's the prince from Snow White?
Oh my gosh. Are his
Maybe.
parents Snow White and the prince?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Wow, full circle moment.
I love that.
That's my headcanon now. Well, maybe if someone has read the second book, they can tell us. When the ogres leave, Ella helps bandage Char up, and he decides to accompany them to Giantville. We see that Heston the snake is in Char's bag on his horse and has witnessed everything.
On their journey, Slannon tells Char that he wants to petition him to become a lawyer because those laws weren't in place when his father was king. And Char says that's not really his area of expertise, and he should talk to his uncle. Ella reminds Char that he's going to be king soon and that he'll have the power to make a difference in the world, but he doesn't even care. She says nobody should be forced to do things they don't want to do, Take it from somebody who knows. And she rides away from him on her horse. This is a good pep talk.
They arrive in Giantville, where giants are being whipped and they're working on a farm. Char is shocked to see them being treated this way because giants have always been really gentle, and he's sure that his uncle doesn't know about this. Ella encourages him to meet with the giants to hear their complaints, while she goes off to find Lucinda.
But Ella finds out that she's too late and Lucinda left Giantville already. When she gets back to Char, she finds him talking to a giant and telling him that he didn't realize how bad things were and that he'll help them buy their farms back first thing after his coronation. So he's taking Ella's advice.
Character growth, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Ella tells Char that she needs to leave to find Lucinda, and he says, "You can't leave now. It's the middle of the night. You have to stay for the party." Ella's obedience kicks in, and she says, "Okay, I'll stay." And Char says, "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but you don't have to stay. I don't want to make you do anything you don't want to do." And I don't think anyone has ever told Ella this before, and it's obviously very meaningful for her.
Although he's sassy about when he's saying this. He's like,
Is he?
Yes, he totally is. He's just like, "I appreciate your enthusiasm. I don't want to make you do anything you don't want to do." And she's like, "Thank you so much." What? What?
Maybe she genuinely has never heard those words before.
I think so, yeah. I definitely think so, but it is just funny the way that they had him deliver this, or the way that he chose to deliver this is just, it was funny.
Wow, I did not catch that. That is funny. She says, "Thank you, Char, for everything." He says he does wish that she would stay, and she says she can for one more night, although this time it's her choice to do so. And they have had pretty heavy banter, and they've been like enemies to lovers this whole time. And so this is a really special moment for them. I think this is a turning point. The snake, Heston, sees all of this.
Char suggests that Ella checks the Hall of Records for Lucinda while they're in Lumia, which is the capital where his castle is, and he can pull some strings for her to be able to access them. And then the giants try to get Slannon to entertain them, and when Ella tells them he doesn't sing, because she's trying to defend Slannon, they tell her to sing, so of course she has to. And she sings Somebody to Love, and all of the giants join her. They love her performance. And at the end of the song, she ends up in Char's arms, and they slow dance with each other. Meanwhile, a giant named Brumhilda, this is Heidi Klum, like flirtily waves at Slannon. So it's very cute. It's like it's very like and they all end the night happy moment, you know?
Oh my gosh. It's Dragon and Donkey.
It is Dragon and Donkey.
There are so many similarities.
You're right. Oh my gosh, you're so right.
Wow. Okay, but let's go back to this performance scene. Iconic.
Iconic.
She just progressively gets more into it, partly because the giants are like, louder, dance, and they're like kind of making her do things that they don't realize they're making her do by egging her on.
Mm-hmm. It is incredible, though.
She does great. After the performance, Char and Ella chat by the fire. Both of them talk about how their mothers passed away, and so they kind of bond over this. Char says that at least he has Edgar, and he's sure that he'll correct the situation with the giants. Ella says, "Or you could," and tells him that he was a natural at smoothing things over with the giants today. Char gains some confidence and says he's going to go to Edgar tomorrow and ask for the restrictions on elves to be lifted. Ella tells him he's going to be a great king someday, and his father would have been proud. Char says, "Kiss me," but when Ella starts to, he says, "That wasn't an order, And she says, "I know," and they kiss.
So cute. And by the way, when he says kiss me, the little noise that happens when she's commanded to do something doesn't happen.
Oh, does it happen in the entire movie or just at the beginning? I
No,
couldn't
it
remember.
happens I think it happens throughout the movie.
Okay.
I think this is the only time in the whole movie until the very end where we don't hear the noise. Yeah.
Is it because she just wanted to, or like because she
guess so.
understood his intent, or
Because she was gonna anyway? I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, cool. I like that. Consent. We love a consent king.
Yes. Then we see a quick scene of the group arriving in Lamia, and Slannon isn't allowed into the castle because he's an elf, but Ella and Char don't see this interaction happening. And then Olga, Mandy, and the stepsisters are also in Lamia to prepare for the coronation ball. Peter, Ella's father, is in town on business and is looking for Ella, but Olga lies and says that Ella is taking a tour of the castle with her stepsisters. Meanwhile, we see the stepsisters and all of Char's fangirls on the tour, and they say, "Prince Char walked on this actual floor," and they all squeal and they drop to the ground. They're freaking out. It's giving like Harry Styles.
100%.
Yeah. Although I guess this would have been before that, but that's the vibe.
He's the original Harry Styles.
Yeah. The tour guide says, ladies, 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 stop tonguing the foyer. It's one of my favorite lines in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. During the tour, Ella and Char walk into the castle, and all of the fangirls start chasing them. Hattie is livid when she sees that Ella and Char are together. When Ella and Char escape from the fangirls, they run into Edgar, Char's uncle. He's immediately suspicious of Ella, and when Char and Ella leave, Heston the snake tells Edgar that she's feeling dangerous thoughts in Char's head.
Then Ella goes to the Hall of Records to find Lucinda in the census, and Char gets fitted for his coronation. He starts to tell his uncle all of the things that he's learned on his journey, but Edgar says they'll talk about it after his coronation. Char tells Edgar that he's going to ask Ella to marry him tonight at the ball at the same time and place his father proposed to his mother. This is when I went, uh-oh, because I remembered everything else that happens in the movie.
Me too. Because the end of this movie, iconic. So memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Changed my life as a child. I thought it was so genius at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's rare for these kind of movies. Usually I remember the premise or like a few little pieces, but you're right, the ending, most memorable. Meanwhile, Hattie and Olive, the stepsisters, meet with Edgar. And he's interested in them, obviously, because Ella is their stepsister, and he wants to find out more information about her. Edgar says that Char will need to take a queen, and implies that it'll be Hattie if she tells him about Ella. And Hattie immediately tells him about Ella's obedience.
Meanwhile, Ella finds that Lucinda is in a retirement community for fairies, and just as she finds this out, Edgar bursts into the Hall of Records to find her, and he tests her obedience on some minor things like touching her toes or doing the hokey pokey, but Ella immediately knows that he found out about her curse, and he orders her to murder Char at midnight that night with a dagger and to keep this plan a secret. And then he reveals that he murdered Char's father and that Char's death will make him king.
Ugh, evil.
Evil.
Ella goes to the retirement home to find Lucinda, only to find that she was kicked out of it. And so Ella at this point is like, okay, I can't get this curse lifted because I can't find Lucinda. So she writes Char a letter saying that they can't be together and she can't explain why. And she actually says goodbye forever. Very dramatic. And when he gets the letter, he looks at the ring that he was going to propose to her with, and he's devastated.
Then Ella finds Slannon and has him chain her to a tree far away, hoping to wait out Edgar's command, while Slannon recruits more elves and giants to keep Char away from Edgar to try to save him. And Slannon does all of this without Ella being able to even explain why. Such a good friend.
Mm-hmm. Char is miserable at the coronation ball. At 11:30 p.m., the tree that Ella's tied to begins to uproot itself. So she's fighting this curse, but even being chained to a tree is not going to stop her. Back at the ball, Hattie is convincing herself that everything in the castle will be hers soon, and Char asks her to dance. Then Lucinda accidentally appears in the same field that Ella is in when she was trying to magic herself somewhere else. It's very coincidental. Ella calls her over to the tree and begs her to take back the gift. Lucinda gets offended by this and tells her to remove the gift herself, then unchains her from the tree, thinking that she's helping her. Lucinda tells her to go to the ball and then magically poofs her a white ball gown to wear and sends her off. While dancing, Char tries to ask Hattie about Ella. Then Ella comes bursting into the ball against her will and lands in Char's arms. She begs him to tell her that he never wants to see her again. And he says, "Tell me how you really feel about me." She says she loves him, but is wrong for him. He doesn't really hear her, and he takes her to the Hall of Mirrors and proposes to her. But then the clock strikes midnight, she sobs, and he doesn't really understand why she's so upset.
He asks her if it's the politics or his family and says their love can conquer anything. And she says she does love him, and she hugs him, but then she's about to stab him.
Tragic.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. It's like such an intense moment. And then she remembers her mom saying, "What's inside you is stronger than any spell."
She looks at her reflection in the mirror and says, "You will no longer be obedient," repeatedly, until the dagger drops to the ground. Wow, what a moment, honestly.
Huge.
So she's freed herself from the curse. But Char sees the dagger and freaks out that she tried to kill him, and then Edgar has Ella arrested before she can explain herself. Edgar says she'll have to be put to death immediately and won't let Char talk to her. And just a fun fact about this scene, I didn't really think about this, but the Hall of Mirrors scene in general was just the most difficult to film because there are so many mirrors and they have to hide the cameras.
That makes sense.
It does, but I
Wow.
never think about that when I see mirrors on screen.
The next morning, Slannon and his team of elves and giants find Benny the book in the recycling bin. And Benny says Ella is in trouble because of Edgar and shows Slannon that she's in the dungeon. And then the ogres from before appear and they say they want to help.
So the band of elves, ogres, and giants sneak into the castle and free Ella. Benny shows them that Edgar has poisoned Char's crown, planning to kill him at the coronation. Ella and the others crash the ceremony right as they're about to put the crown on Char's head, and a big fight breaks out. During that fight, Mandy manages to turn Benny human again. Yay! Char ends up helping Ella fight, but he can't believe that he's doing it after she tried to kill him. She explains that Edgar made her do it, and she tells him about the poisoned crown and that Edgar killed his father.
Edgar's talking snake Heston almost bites Char, which he takes as evidence of his uncle's guilt. Edgar attempts to proclaim himself king and puts the poisoned crown on his head, and he collapses.
Tragic. Char realizes that Ella saved his life, and she says they're even now. And I think this is cute because he's saved her life so many times, and most of the times she was kind of sassy with him afterwards. Hattie does not like seeing Char and Ella together and tries to command Ella to never kiss Char again. But Ella says, "You want to bet?" And she takes her mother's heart necklace back from her. It's so satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And then he asks her to marry him, and she says yes.
Yay. And then we cut to Char and Ella getting married, and Char toasts to a new era of equality among all citizens of the kingdom. And everyone sings "Don't Go Breaking My Heart," and we see how everybody ended up. So we see Mandy and Benny are happy as humans together, and then Slannon and Brumhilde the giant are together, and she's holding him like a baby. It is so donkey and dragon, you're right.
Yeah.
It turns out that Edgar is still alive and he's in a wheelchair. Then we see Ella and Char leave for their honeymoon, and when Ella tosses her bouquet, her best friend Arita catches it. And that's the end.
Yay. I love this movie so much. I'm so glad we got to watch it.
Me too. Happy birthday.
Thanks. Had to talk about Anne Hathaway.
Of course.
Okay, I have a few rapid fire letterboxed reviews to read just to leave us with some good vibes.
Love it.
You know I love Letterboxd a little too much, but after every movie that I watch, I have to look up the reviews.
No, I love that you love it because then you can fill me in.
I give you the good ones. So here we go. I think this is better than The Godfather.
Whoa.
One of the top reviews.
Whoa. My mind just immediately goes to Ken.
That's exactly what I was thinking as I was like, is this Barbie's Godfather?
Oh,
You know?
perhaps.
Here's another one. TBH, there's really something to be said about the way women are trained to be docile and obedient from birth and then have to spend their whole lives trying to unlearn that behavior just to survive. T emoji.
Oof, it hurts my soul. It makes me sad.
Okay, I have more funny ones. Google is telling me the budget for this was $31 million, but I'm fully convinced they made this for like $300.
In someone's backyard. It's funny.
The fact that La La Land has 6 Oscars and this has none is proof that the Academy is garbage.
True.
And I will leave you on this one. I also would do anything Hugh Dancy in tight leather pants told me to do without hesitation.
It's true. It's just true.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Ella Enchanted.
If you guys liked the episode, please let us know. We would love to hear from you on social media. What We're Watching Pod.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.